I'm Dr. Dylan. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a side-by-side comparison of the Android and iPhone app. Their features have set the bar for what I'm including and improving on in the next generation of Dr. Dylan. Speaking of the next generation of the app, stick around to the end of the video for a sneak peek at one of its features. So let's get started by viewing some passes in each. On the left, we have the Android, and on the right, the iPhone. When we launch it on the Android, we're presented by default with all passes. Similarly, on the iPhone, all passes, or in this case, the logbook, is our current tab. The most notable difference between the two is on the Android side, we have a 4-column view where we can change the field for each column. In this case, I'll change it to our reaction time in our first column. Whereas on the iPhone side, we have a side-scrolling capability, and we're defaulted to all columns. We do have a view menu at the bottom with some preset views. Here we have just our prediction data, and we have a custom fields. Both of them do support custom fields. With that, why don't we go ahead and add one? To add a custom field on the Android, you select the top ellipses here and click on custom fields. We currently have none. We'll click the add button and we'll add, let's add a launch RPM. And our launch RPM doesn't need a decimal place, so we'll set that to no decimal place. Now if we go back and we'll use the compare to last to see that. So on the compare to last, we actually get a vertical view of our pass. And if we scroll down, we can see towards the bottom here, we have our launch RPM. To add a custom field to the iPhone, we click on the settings and then managed fields. And the iPhone came with 3 pre-defined example type custom fields. We can add our own, and we'll give it a launch RPM name. And like before, we don't need a decimal place on that. Back that out. Something different with the iPhone is we had the option to copy our previous value, so that when we're adding a new pass, it will actually copy the value that we entered from our previous pass into this one, which is nice if we're constantly launching at, say, 3,500 RPM, and we rarely change that. We don't have to enter that data every time. It will just copy it from the previous pass. And we'll save that. Another thing to call out here is that both phones have a vehicle context. So they are, all these tabs are presenting their information based on a selected vehicle. You can see our current selected vehicle is the 1978 Chevy Malibu up in the upper left corner. We can change our vehicle from the left navigation. We currently only have one vehicle, so let's go ahead and add another one. I'm going to add my 1978 Fiat Spider. On both these versions of the application, the name is derived from the year and make and model. The new version, I'm going to have it a more free-form name, so you can name it anything you want. You can include your car number in it, anything that makes sense to you. Now, most of the default values should work. In my case, though, the car is considerably lighter than 3,500 pounds, so I'm going to change this to 2,400. That's my estimate. In our fuel type, we have gasoline and methanol. At popular request, I am going to add E85 to the next generation. On the next generation of Dr. Dylan, the vehicle form is actually going to be much simpler. Some of these things are going away. They're becoming part of tuning, not something you have to set up when you add a car. So much easier process in the next generation for adding cars. And we'll select our vehicle. And so you can see now the context has changed to our 1978 Fiat Spider, and we have no passes in this with this selected vehicle. So we'll go ahead and add the same vehicle to the iPhone. Same thing, left navigation. We'll add same vehicle, the same settings. So now that we have our new vehicle added, let's go ahead and add a pass. A pass can be added from any tab using the Christmas tree with a plus at the top. We'll go ahead and set this back to a more representative time frame of June. Taking a look at some of the fields here, like the lane, we have a choice of left and right. The next generation, I'm going to add some additional options for supporting tracks with 4 lanes, so you'll have a lane 1 through 4 as an option. Our results, we have time only, win and loss, pretty self-explanatory. Quality, it's worth noting that the all out is a very important option. Indicates to the prediction engine that there were no issues. This is a perfect pass. Go ahead and use this for any automatic tuning or tuning options. We'll go ahead and fill out the rest of this. Now, I did completely make up these numbers. This is not a real pass. It's a good guess, I think, on what the car's capable of. I can't wait to see how close I am when I do finally get it down the track. Now that we've filled out the ticket information, our next step is to get some weather in here. And what we have is the weather icon. We click that and we're presented with the current weather based on the time that we've selected earlier in the log entry. And we'll go ahead and set that. We'll run through that quick again on the iPhone. Now, a little different from the Android, in this case we don't have an icon to click on. It's right in the top menu of the keyboard, so we'll click on Get Weather here and it automatically sets it. Now that we have an all-out pass entered, we can start viewing predictions. On the Android side, predictions are found under DDPE. DDPE stands for Dr. Dial-In Predictions. And on the iPhone side, we just call them predictions. We're going to just call them predictions going forward with the new next generation as well. So you may have noticed in Android, our prediction is a 1311, which is quite a bit quicker than our 1334 that we entered into our pass. And that's because we're viewing the current weather for today in December, which is quite a bit cooler. What we can do though is we can click on the what if and change that to say a 70-degree day, and we get a whole new prediction, much closer to our 1334. And then if we close this, we're back to our current weather. On the iPhone side, here as well, we're viewing a quicker time, but we're looking at the 1/8 mile by default. If we click in the middle here at a 1/4 mile, we can see we also have a 1311 prediction. And with this one, the what if is always available. We don't have to change screens for that. So if we change this back to our 70 degrees, you can see we have a quicker time, or a much more closer time to our original ticket with that 70-degree change. And it's presented in a, at the top here, within a range of how the wind is impacting our car. That's a notable difference in the iPhone, is the wind is within a range. And right now that range is the same whether it's a 0-mile-an-hour wind or a 20-mile-an-hour wind, because you can see in the upper right corner we have a side wind at the current moment. If we were to change that wind direction to say a northerly, we now have a tailwind, and you can see our prediction is quicker. And the range is also impacted now. We're at a 0 wind, we're at the 1336. At the current wind speed, we have 1334, and then if we're at a 20-mile-an-hour wind, we have a 1329. The idea behind this is that it gives you an idea if the wind is gusting, just how much of a difference it may make. And then as we change the wind speed, you can actually see it moving closer to that 20-mile-an-hour wind. And then to get this back to our current weather, we just click on the refresh, which brings us back to current weather. So in addition to changing the weather settings for different prediction results, we can also, on both phones, view a weather trending chart or graph. And this is very useful for finding that apex in the day where the temperatures are starting to cool off and your car is going to start running faster. Both have this feature. On the iPhone, you click on the 3 ellipses, and then you have the weather trending here. This is something I'm going to carry over into the new version. I'm going to see if I can't make some improvements on these graphs, make them a little more easier to read. The main thing is just seeing where the apex, whether we've reached the apex. That I think is the main call out from these, and we'll see what I can do to make it a little easier to identify. Another prediction feature that both phones have in common is changing the location. We only have the one location, so let's add another one. This is where things get quite a bit different between the two apps. And in the next generation, we won't even have to create new locations because they're all going to be pre-configured. In Android, we're going to give it a name. Let's go with a track that's more southerly, the Texas Motorplex. And here it's based on locating it by city. And we'll click next. And then we're presented with this weather station selection. And in this case, I know that the second option is actually closer than the track. These are based on their relative distance to the city-state that we selected. But the track is actually closer to this weather station. So I'll select that and hit next. So now the track direction is very important to get right because that's going to impact how our wind is affecting the vehicle in our prediction. This is I know this track runs from southwest to northeast, so that would be we're going to be facing northeast, and we'll save that. And now you can see our prediction on the Android side has updated with a warmer temperature of 65 degrees for our Texas location. If we change it back to Byron, we're back to our 37 degrees and a quicker prediction. We'll run through that again on the iPhone. Tap the location, add edit, click on the plus, and here we can just search by the track's name. And now, because it's actually referenced by the location of the track and not the city-state that it's closest to, we have the right option for our weather station at the top. We'll select that. And here we are facing, again, southwest to northeast. That's the direction of our track. And we'll save that. And now we're presented with a higher temperature and a option to toggle back and forth between tracks. So let's talk about some other unique features between the apps. We already talked about one on the iPhone regarding the wind direction being depicted in an image in the upper right corner. You can see we have a tailwind with a southwesterly wind direction. If we change that to a northerly, you can see that the image updates with how the direction that's coming at our car. On the iPhones, on the Android side, that just simply doesn't exist. That will be something that I carry into the next generation. I really like that. In addition to the wind direction, we also have that ranged representation of the wind speed impacting our predictions. That's something I think I'm going to carry over into the next generation. I might even add ranges to some of the other things like temperature. Haven't quite decided on that yet. So if you have some opinions on that, please leave them down in the comments. On the Android side, so the Android has 2 years of incremental improvements that have been made to it since it was released, where the iPhone It was released with these features. I never really had time to add more to it like I did with the Android. So there's a few more things that Android has that the iPhone doesn't have. That would be the notifications. So at the top here on our predictions, we can turn on notifications. So when a prediction changes due to weather conditions changing, you will actually get a notification on your phone. If you had a watch, an Android watch, you would also see it pop up on your watch saying what the new prediction is. On the iPhone side, that didn't make it in yet, but what it did have that was unique was it's always presenting a prediction on the top. Currently, you can see the quarter mile is predicted at 13:19, and if we change to our eighth mile, that updates now to eighth mile times based on what we have on our prediction tab. So then Android also has some additional ways of comparing and viewing passes. We already talked about the 4-column pass. We'll go ahead and change vehicles back to our 1978 Malibu, where we have some more passes to see this. So we have compare to last, and that is showing our last pass, and then we can navigate our other passes and see them side by side in a comparison. There's also the similar to last. This allows us to pick a field that we compare to or find similar runs. So if we want to find similar passes where we had a good reaction time, we could change it to the reaction time. And so these are the closest 10 matches to our last pass. So these tabs are dedicated to our last pass, but if we wanted to compare it to a specific pass, we can actually long press and compare details. So now we're comparing all of our passes to the one that we've selected. Another unique feature to the Android is the ability to create and track pass counters. So on our vehicle, we can click the maintenance or the wrench icon, and we can add additional counters. So let's say we want to track, we installed a new stall converter last year. We want to track how many passes are on it. So we'll add a stall converter counter. And we installed it last year, so we'll set that. And it will actually set the starting pass count to 15. That's how many passes since the start date. So we can click next, and we can be notified when we reach these, either a date, or in this case, we want to be notified when we reach 500 passes. At that point, we might want to check on having the stall converter looked at, and we'll save that. So now you can see we're at 15 of 50. We've enabled notifications, so when we enter our 500th pass, we're going to get a notification. And then maybe one of the most noticeable differences between the applications is how predictions are tuned. On the Android side, it's completely automatic. It's kind of a black box. You don't really know when it's happening or to what degree it's changing your settings, but it works really well. It's something that doesn't have to be explained or taught. It just happens. It does have the ability, though, to force a pass if it's not updating quickly enough for you. You just made a pass that is spot on, perfect pass. Prediction was off by more than you would like it to be. You can actually long press on a pass, and under advanced, you can force that pass to be what the prediction engine models going forward and begins tuning off of. So on the iPhone side, it's fully manual. It's the opposite. The intention was that eventually it was going to get automatic tuning. Just hadn't progressed to that point yet. So in this case, let's go ahead and change our vehicle to our Malibu again, where we have more passes. And to tune this, we can click on the 3 ellipses on the prediction tab, and you can see we have a prediction tuning option, and it presents us with our most recent passes. You can see at the top here our last pass was off by 8 thousandths, and what we can do is adjust our sea level. You can see if we go the wrong way, it starts getting worse. As we bring that in closer to an exact match, you can also see that the other predictions would have been, with this tune, would be closer as well. So with it's making it a better tune. So we'll go ahead and save that. Now that we have a record of where we have been, I can start showcasing my progress with the next generation of Dr. Dial-In. And as promised, here's an early look at one of its features. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and consider subscribing. It helps the channel, and I appreciate your support. Thank you, and see you at the finish line.